This month we watched quite a lot of movies, so we decided to make a video about the ones we liked, didn't enjoy, or the ones we thought you should know about. It's a monthly review of sorts. Remember, if you want to check out what we're watching, you can follow us on Letterboxd.
But before we get into all that, let's take a moment for today's kind sponsor, Skillshare. If you didn't already know, Skillshare is a great online learning community where you can find classes on just about any topic, from becoming a better writer, gardener, or even learning how to illustrate. There are thousands of classes that you can follow at your own pace. And if you have the Skillshare Premium membership, you can have access to all of them, so you can sharpen the skill you already have, or indulge in new ones. As someone who edits a lot of videos, I often check out tutorials that can teach me new techniques, help me have a faster workflow, or show me if I'm doing something wrong. So Jordi Vandeput's class on advanced video editing for Adobe Premiere Pro has been very informative. You can learn about shortcuts you didn't know the program had, how to color grade your footage, and how to fix certain audio issues. He covers a lot of ground. If Skillshare sounds like it could be of interest to you, then check out the link below. The first 1,000 of our subscribers to click the link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so you can start exploring your creativity today. Try it out and learn something new. Now back to the show.
Let's get the ball rolling with Old. Watching an M. Night Shyamalan film can be a lot like the twists he's known for. It could be unexpected, surprising, or groan-inducing. Although his latest doesn't fly as high as some of his best, it's not his worst either. What's frustrating is that it could have been so much better. It could have gone full allegory, but unfortunately it stumbles into the absurd. There are certain elements of a good movie in here, or maybe a good short film. It's an interesting concept, getting old without knowing why, but it feels like the filmmakers or the producers wanted the audience to know what was happening every step of the way. This film could have benefited from keeping more of its mystery. And also that dialogue. It sounds off, almost childish. Some might defend it saying it's a style choice, but it kept hitting at my suspension of disbelief. Give this one a shot if you usually give M. Night Shyamalan the benefit of the doubt, but if you decide to skip it, you're not really missing out on anything life-altering. Next up is The Green Knight. A few things that impressed me were the way the movie looked and sounded. You could tell there was a lot of attention to detail regarding the costumes, the sets, the props, the heavy movements of the Green Knight. It was like opening a book of fairy tales and being transported into another land. And I welcomed this bit of dark escapism. Although there are certain moments of action, don't expect it to be filled with battles and such. This film is also very light on the narrative. We're meant to follow a character that's trying to figure out where he stands, what honor and greatness are, so it can feel very introspective at times. It's an Arthurian mood piece that requires patience and appreciation for A24 type visual indulgences. I can see how this film isn't for everyone, but if you have the stamina for it, I think you might enjoy it. Plus, you can play A24 actor bingo while you watch it. Depending on who you ask or what article you read, The Suicide Squad is either a soft reboot or a sequel to Suicide Squad. One thing that's certain is that it stands on its own. James Gunn crosses over to the DCEU and puts his stamp on the latest Task Force X adventure, and there are a lot of twists and turns along the way. Honestly, we had a lot of fun with this movie. It has plenty of humor and running gags, the action set pieces were well executed, and there was a surprising amount of heart. This is one of those movies where you can just go in, turn off your brain for a while, and enjoy the ride. Immediately after watching the movie, I had a feeling that I wanted to watch it again. And that's how you want a movie to make you feel, right? We've been fortunate to be able to watch a few movies at the Fantasia Film Festival, and this one is one that we really recommend. Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes is a very low-budget, time loop movie shot on a phone. What this film lacks in budget, it makes up for in passion and creativity. The concept in itself is simple. The owner of a cafe realizes that one of his monitors shows what happens 2 minutes into the future. From then on, he and his friends test the limits of this temporal anomaly, and have their own little dangerous adventure. The whole movie is shot as one continuous take, so at the start, it might feel a bit repetitive, since you see what's going to happen 2 minutes into the future, and then actually have the character live those 2 minutes and so forth. But as the movie progresses, you won't think about it that much. I can't imagine how complicated the storyboard must have looked like by the end. Overall, the story is original and worth checking out if you have a chance. These types of filmmakers deserve a wider audience and more recognition. Honestly, if you're a filmmaker, you won't help but feel inspired by the effort behind this movie. An endearing example of inspired minimalistic storytelling. We're All Going to the World's Fair is the story of a seemingly lonely teenage girl that decides to take the World's Fair challenge, a type of internet role-playing horror game, and document the changes she's going through. From then on, we get to see her life, her posted videos and interactions with another World's Fair challenger. The way she talks to the camera reminds me of the movie 8th Grade. This film is filled with Gen Z malaise. It does a great job at creating an ominous mood and making us question what we're seeing, if it's part of the transformation or if it's just the protagonist putting on a show. I feel that the ending kind of fizzles out, but it does go in hand with the uncertainty that we're meant to feel. This movie does have a great unexpected scare at a certain point. I like how simple it was. Definitely nightmare fuel.
The last Fantasia film we wanted to mention is The Righteous. It's a black and white psychological religious thriller about grief, guilt, and faith. We're introduced to a couple that has just lost their daughter. One day, a young stranger appears on their property and asks for their help. As the story progresses, we get to know more and more about each character, their past, and why they've been brought together. The film explores those confusing and ambiguous feelings a person of faith might have after a life-altering event that put into question those beliefs, as well as the identity those beliefs have forged. Although the film does waver in a few places, especially concerning the ending, this is a good directorial debut for Canadian Mark O'Brien. He also plays the creepy antagonist of this film, and he does a pretty good job. Next up is a movie I was really looking forward to when I saw the trailer, Candyman. Now, I really dug how they were able to update the 90s urban legend story, and I appreciate a lot of the visuals and atmosphere that they created. But there were several story ideas being juggled at the same time, and sadly not all of them pay off or are fully explored. The best parts were really the mental, physical, and social toll the transformation was having on the main character. I mean, this is a viral curse movie, but it's also a body horror story about a man that's slowly losing himself. Then we get storylines that might be interesting, but don't add to the overall story. When it comes to the social commentary, it felt a bit dull. We never really see something that hasn't already been done better in a different movie. And honestly, that was the part I was really hoping they would be able to pull off, because horror movies and social commentary are just a perfect match, especially for this type of story. Just considering the history of black characters in horror movies where they were usually relegated to just being victims. Here they're not just the main character or secondary character, but the tragic supernatural antagonist, a very compelling symbol of trauma. I think a common issue that a lot of modern storytellers have when they try using social commentary is that they mistake being blunt with being bold, or see mentioning a social problem as equal as examining it. I agree with what the movie is trying to say about gentrification and cops. I have experienced both things in my life. But agreeing with a movie is not enough. I can also agree with a pamphlet. That doesn't mean it's a good story. Now, this might be completely my preference, but I feel the best social commentary is the type that is skillfully woven into the story. It's the pillar and base of your narrative, not the thing that you keep pointing at to the degree where it becomes self-aware, leaving you with no room for nuance, depth, or mystery. And that was my TED Talk. Moving on. The last movie we want to share with you and that we wholeheartedly recommend is Pig. As much as I would have loved Nicolas Cage to go full on crazy in a John Wick style quest for payback, this movie does not go down that road. In many ways, it's an anti-revenge film. Surprisingly, Pig digs into themes of existentialism and the fleeting nature of life. At many points in the movie we expect there to be violence, but it ends up not happening. This movie is also about cooking, so let me put it this way. It's a mix of the bitterness that you can find in You Were Never Really Here, that's also an anti-revenge movie, mixed in with the sweetness of Ratatouille. I know, it's a strange mix, but it kinda works. The intensity in Cage's character isn't expressed in big actions, but through his looks and his measured way of speaking. Here, he doesn't need violence to be imposing. It's actually a great portrayal about a man that's trying really hard not to break. It just so happens to be about the loss of his pig. Honestly, I feel like this could be a contender for the top 10 of the year list, but let's see how it holds up. Now, before you go, I just wanted to take some time to let you know that the channel is going to go through some change. Because of certain circumstances, I won't be able to make YouTube videos full-time anymore. Part-time, yes, but full-time, not anymore. This channel is something special that my brother and I really enjoy doing, and we don't plan on stopping that anytime soon. We're still going to be putting up recommendations and reviews, and hopefully when things get settled, we'll be able to put essay-like videos again. So, bear with us, take care, and we'll see you next time.